piece that we have outstanding, the Energy Services Agreement, to actually get into some details about that agreement, and then to really open it up for questions that we will answer real time here. And I again want to thank you folks for taking your time. We're really going to seek to keep this quite time efficient. By the way, I'm Mike Gordon. You will be hearing from maybe other folks from Sustainable Westchester, certainly Leah Wegman, and as well, I think it is Mary Beth on for Bedford 2020, who may as well choose to chime in. Okay. So now let's focus on this on the very specific things that we wanted to take you through. First of all, we are going to go through the details of this contract, or through some of the details of this contract that we have sent around. Now, you've had it in largely unchanged form for the last 3 weeks, but we have begun to get some comments. So you can, we put this up so that you can actually go and browse through the contract while you're on this phone call. So we'll just leave it up. And you may feel free to enter in that web link, but that's specifically so that you can go through some of these individual contract features as we are going through some of those ourselves. View the recording here and download the slides here. Obviously, forget about that now, but when this PowerPoint presentation comes through to you, that'll be an actual hyperlink, and you can actually go right in there and see last week's recording, listen to last week's recording, sorry, and download the slides as well. But please, I want to underscore right now, if you start having any questions at all, get them through to us as soon as is possible, because we're going to seek to answer them in today's live webinar. And again, we're probably gonna, not browbeat, but as close as we can, we're gonna underscore, we wanna be meeting you, we wanna be meeting you, we wanna be meeting mayors, we wanna be meeting supervisors. We are, I think, up to 12 meetings this week, one last, one next, which means that, that of the 25 towns and municipalities, there are 11 which we have not yet scheduled meetings for. So so maybe your supervisor is going to get a call from me or from Leo or from somebody, who knows. Okay. So I guess I went on to bullet point number 1 up here. You can contact Glenn to set up a meeting the week of that's this week, really. Next week, it's we're going to have 0 time. There may actually be, you could have those meetings with Leo and Glenn, just not with me. We will have close of this week, after these meetings, we will get out a revised version of this contract that you got. Because those 35 pages are primarily intended to protect municipalities, almost all of what's in there is for municipal protection. You're not going to find major changes. You will find some minor changes that we are getting. As an example, we met this morning with Ossining Town, and they had some specific suggestions around how we would report, making the language a bit more specific and less subjective. But some minor things like that. But now let's focus in on this self-effectuating contract. I'm going to turn this over to Leo oh, okay. So, all right. I just want to underscore that mayors and supervisors do not want 24 hours to sign a contract. You want more time. Totally sensible. So that's why it's our intent to have the final version of that contract ready, deeply vetted by a number of municipalities prior to that December 14th date, so that in that 14th to 18th week, the individual supervisors and mayors may sign that contract. Now, it won't go into effect until we actually have a price that is a compliant price, talk more about that later, and a counterparty who has been fully vetted with respect to their credit. But the contract itself, the contract structure itself, in order for us to take this out onto the energy market for any counterparty at all, that contract structure we need to have agreed upon and signed, and it's our intent to get all or most of the 25 municipalities signing that contract in the week of December 14th. Leo, do you want to say anything more about that prior to the next slide? You got him off mute or something?
I'm sorry, I'm now unmuted. But hang on a second. I realized I made a big mistake. I sent Haley the slides that do not have any information about the contract agreement in it. So I'm just double checking and hitting send on that now. So I apologize momentarily.
Okay.
I just noticed that now.
I guess when we get to those slides, Leo, we will jury rig and insert them or something. We'll figure it out. Okay, got it. Do you want to say anything about this self-effectuating contract before we move on to the next, or would you rather speak?
No, that's fine. So the intent here is to review the details of the agreement with as many municipalities as possible, preferably all of our municipal partners in this program, so that you're comfortable with the terms and agreements and give us back any feedback so we can make adjustments. We will then do one final revision of this agreement, and it's based on two principles that we independently verify the creditworthiness of the final bidding suppliers, and of course only creditworthy suppliers will be would be in the final bid, and that the bid itself is fully compliant with the terms and conditions of this energy service agreement, and so that therefore municipalities would agree to sign on to this contract in advance, assuming that there was independent verification of those two important factors: creditworthiness of the bidder for the term of the agreement and the compliance of the actual bid price that we get for the rate. And again, I apologize that I created an outline of the entire contract, which was not in the slide set I sent Haley 12 minutes ago, but it was in the one I sent a minute and a half ago. I can talk, but I would, if our participants are on the call, it can go to the sustainablewestchester.org website and go to Community Toolkits button into Community Choice Aggregation. Under that Community Toolkits button, the first thing they'll see on that page is Download Draft Energy Service Agreement dated 11/6/2015. If they hit that Download Draft Energy Service Agreement link, they'll be opening a Word document, which is the current draft agreement, and I'll be skipping through that sort of in a Schaum outline version for just to hit the highlights for you to help you get through
One thing, Leo.
We won't.
Leo.
Yes.
I just want to address one misperception that we've heard is out there as we are looking at this contractual structure. There's a misperception that Joule Assets, my firm, has literally anything to do with this whatsoever. And the answer is absolutely nothing. So what I'm going to address, the way I'm going to address that is I will have a Sustainable Westchester email so that there's no misinterpretation with respect to any prospective involvement in my firm. My firm can't make any money from this, whether it's from a straight contract or subcontract in Westchester. Of course, I'm gaining some learning about this to do this elsewhere, but with respect to the Westchester contract, the entire piece that we are doing, I want to underscore there is absolutely no financial benefit. In fact, there's cost of it to my time, but there's no financial contract, no financial benefit whatsoever. This tri-party agreement is between Sustainable Westchester, the municipality, and the supplier, and anything that I do professionally or thereby anyone else involved in this who's putting their volunteer time, their companies in no way are subcontracting or being contracted in for earnings from this. I just wanted to underscore that.
Thank you, Michael. Assuming folks have been able to open that Word document, I'll just start very briefly by saying it starts with essentially a draft template resolution that creates the entity of the program manager, which is Sustainable Westchester for the Public Service Order Commission, and the relationship between the municipality, Sustainable Westchester's program manager, and the energy supplier to be filled in later. On page 3, we start with the definitions. Page 2 through 6 are essentially standard definitions for the terms of this contract. Some of these need to be tweaked a little bit to be specific to New York State law, and we're working on that. And that brings us to Article 2 in this document, which is on page 6 through page 9. And this is really sort of the heart of the agreement relative to the terms that we grant the energy service company the right to serve the commodity of electric supply, and outlines the way that the process works in the electric markets. So this is fairly standard language that the energy service companies that will be bidding are all familiar with and have already agreed to, for example, for a community choice program for municipalities that has just been rolled out in the state of Massachusetts. So we have this language based on it working in Massachusetts with good, high-quality suppliers, and we're adapting it to New York State. The details are going to be in your slide deck as to what these rights are, so I won't go through them now. On the next article is Article 3, which is about consumer choice, notification. Oh, I see it's up now, and enrollment. And again, this is very specific to language to protect municipalities, and we would like suppliers to opt to choose to destroy the records of any customers who opt out of the program, who might have been in the program at the beginning for privacy's sake. And we also would like to guarantee that there's no exit fee for residential or small business customers who decide to leave the program. Exit fees are quite common in other kinds of individual arrangements, and we want this group buy to be without that. Article 4 is pages 13 through 14, which is the terms of the contract and termination. And so that these are fairly standard, but they are in there to allow us to terminate the agreement should either party fall short. And the point is, whichever party makes the decision on termination is the aggrieved party from the standpoint of law. Article 5 is fairly specific on the continuing covenants that are required by the supplier, and it also ensures that in Westchester and the municipality, as the get to control the message that we put out to our residents locally, and that we get the aggregate data that we need to launch the program from the supplier. In this case, we're already getting it from the Con Edison to start the program under the Public Service Commission order. And there's a specific article in here, Article 5.5, that gives us the opportunity to save additional money if residents achieve energy efficiency savings if we were, for example, institute a program whereby we were installing several thousand smart meters in the homes of residents so that their air conditioning could be dialed down when they weren't home, and that generated savings at peak load times. We'll go to the next slide, which on Article 6, which is on page 18 of the document, describes the role of the municipality, and in particular what the municipality is not doing, so that we're compliant with General Municipal Law 360. Article 7 describes the role of the program manager, and we're going to flesh this out specifically, but in this case, the program manager will be Sustainable Westchester per the Public Service Order. And we will provide service as the program manager. We will manage all the public communications, the web portal, with the assistance of Bedford 2020, a local nonprofit, many of you know, that has made the success of this program part of its mission for the coming year. And we will also fulfill all the reporting requirements with the Public Service Commission and all the other program partners on behalf of our municipal members. And essentially, you're going to get a report not less than annually from us that will be a reasonably detailed accounting of the program's impact, both financial and otherwise, that you can then pass on to your residents and small business owners. Article 8 is the prices and services and terms of billing. Again, fairly standard, but describes the billing approach as we heard it in our hearings, public hearings with you. And we have some additional protections built in there, and it further ensures that the gross receipts tax is collected, and that it is not only collected but then remitted to the state. As has, we've had some earlier instances of ESCOs that, because they were not New York State companies but were Florida-based companies, were arguing that they didn't need to collect the New York State gross receipts tax because they were out of state essentially. But that has been not upheld by the courts.
Leo?
So therefore, they now have to remit. Yeah.
Oh, I just want to spotlight this for a second. This gross receipts language, I think we did get commentary from a couple of attorneys saying we should have very specific reference to gross receipts. I don't know, is that the version that we've sent out, or?
It's not. I think it's flagged, but it's not in this. It's not in this version of Article 8. But we flagged it to add, so that's good.
Okay.
We're mentioning it now because we're going to flag it to add it. Yeah. So this, the document we put out there has a fair bit of markup in it, but doesn't have every last comment. And I know we did get a detailed list of comments that are not in here yet.
Yes, so that's just one place that attorneys, municipal attorneys should know. We're very specifically going to add language that speaks directly to the gross receipts tax to ensure that we're actually adding to municipal collections, not taking away from municipal collections of gross receipts tax. And so, yeah.
Thank you. Article 9 is a standard for us that the New York State requires a certain percentage of renewable purchases, and this simply codifies that. Article 10 provides service protections for residential customers, and it checks against unfair disconnection of service and retains our right to advocate for consumers without necessarily obligating us to do that. So that's further protection.
Now, we've gotten some feedback on that clause that there's some attorney who feels, one municipal attorney feels that putting that in may be an implied obligation. So we will come to some position on that. You may find some change in that language right there, but it's unlikely. We don't think that it obligates a municipality. We think it's entirely to the benefit of the municipality, giving flexibility. So don't expect a change there, but if it comes, you'll know why it came.
Right. Article 11 is standard, non-discrimination. Article 12 discusses power supply information and access to information and the reporting of sales and so on. There are a couple of items such as consumer-related data that we don't necessarily want to be handling ourselves. We don't feel that the state of Westchester or the municipalities should hold any consumer-specific usage data other than knowing the address of the account and the account holder's name, so we can mail out the notices at the beginning of the program and at the renewal stage. So we're still puzzling. We're still working through some of the details on the power supply information section. Article 13 deals with a standard contractual dispute resolution and choice of forum, choice of state. We welcome input on thoughts that you have on the dispute resolution article 13. Next slide, please. So Article 14 is indemnification. And here, indemnification protects only the municipality, so it's sort of a one-directional, unidirectional indemnification. Article 15 are representations and warrants.
Leo,
yes, Mike?
On Article 14, there's a possible addition of the supplier indemnifying Sustainable Westchester if that's going to fly with the suppliers, but it will not affect municipalities at all. Municipalities will be asked to indemnify no one and will be indemnified by the supplier.
Got it. Yep. Yeah, that's well put. So we hope these, right. A winning supplier may choose to indemnify Sustainable Westchester or may not. But Article 15 is representations and warranties. And basically the municipality's representation is that it has followed the applicable general municipal law for procurement policy, which has been done through the local law process, and so therefore municipalities can check that box, essentially. Article 16 on page 26 is insurance, and it's fairly standard. The Article 17 is somewhat self-explanatory in the event regulatory events and new taxes in the event that those things change during the course of the contract. And Article 18, miscellaneous, is where all the other stuff is put that's germane for this program, and therefore pages 27 through 32, almost 5 pages of detail here in terms of addresses for organizations participating and so on and so forth, direct marketing, force majeure clause, and the fact that this is not a joint venture, waivers, and all kinds of other details that have been found helpful in rolling out municipal-based programs, in, for example, most recently in Massachusetts. And then it's important to note at the end of this process, if we could go to the next slide, that there are a couple of important exhibits that you have, which comprise the last few pages of this document. Exhibit A, I'm calling it A1, is just 2 pages, and it describes the prices and terms for the fixed rate offering of electric energy supply, which, to be compliant for our terms, needs to be below the 12-month trailing average of the utility supply over the past year, essentially. Exhibit A2 would be, it isn't here yet, but would be a mirror document that would describe the rate of 100% renewable energy price option, and that would be available for any consumer who wishes to choose up to 100% renewable and leave the default rate. We think that'll be slightly higher than the fixed price below the 12-month trailing average, but we think we have a fair number of consumers who would choose that rate based on how many currently opts for an energy supply company that is not Con Edison or NYSEG. Exhibit B is brief. It's a template summary data for each municipality. That is information that comes to us from Con Edison and would be placed into this table here to describe the sort of load profile, if you will, on an aggregate level for all of the consumers, eligible consumers in that municipality. And Exhibit C is the payment schedule and contact information for each of the each of the three partners involved that are signing the agreement. The supplier, the municipality, and what's called the consultant here, but is the program manager in Westchester. That brings us to the end of the sham outline of this 37-page document. We'd be happy to take any questions either by chat now or by email later, and I'll turn it back over to Mike for a moment.
Thanks, Leo.
The rest of the
we actually have a number
just about out of time. We have 3 minutes left.
Okay, we have a number of questions right now. We're going to answer 3 of them, and then we're going to answer specifically remotely as well, and we'll tell you all about how we're going to, the more detailed questions or answers to those questions next week. So one question is creditworthiness of bidders. And what happens if somebody, there's a negative outcome for the company despite the fact that they look creditworthy today in the middle of the contract? So one, we've got language for the creditworthiness of bidders that we will send anyone who asks, specifically how we are assessing the creditworthiness of bidders. The firm that will make that judgment will be a credible accounting firm with knowledge of municipal law as well. And specifically, if a firm, we're looking at another tool, we are requiring all companies to hedge if they go with a fixed priced option. In other words, if there's a 3-year fixed price, they're going to actually have to buy a hedge that goes out 3 years so that if something happens to them, that hedge will still protect this contract. We're also going to an alternative credit arrangement, which we think is even more powerful than bond rating credit for a Fortune 100 company, is if that hedge, if we have the freedom to reassign that hedge to another company in the case something happens with that company, therefore we'd be able to transfer the contract and have the hedge backing it up. We actually think that will be even more powerful than a simple quality credit rating. The quality credit rating is generally the way folks are making their assessments of whether they want to be with a supplier. What are the next 3 steps? Let me get to this. Let me get to this third question. Can customers elect to go to 100% renewable option? If so, what percentage of customers do you think will opt for this option? So the answer is, it is our intent to have 100% renewable option in this contract. We do expect that the default rate, meaning if people do nothing, that the default contract will be 22% renewable, not 100% renewable. However, we are aiming to achieve historic opt-up rates to 100% renewable option. And I can briefly explain, a piece of that is going to be a financial argument that this renewable contract is a smart financial contract for people to get into. Specifically, with all of the community renewables and community solar being introduced to Westchester County this year, we will buy that output from community solar farms and community renewable farms. That output is worth 22 cents a kilowatt hour. And because the output, and we'll go into more detail on this next week, because the community solar actually takes advantage of the ability to roll people's meter back, that additional benefit we are going to spread like butter across the entire participation base of folks who opt up into the renewable contract. What that's going to look like is if you're paying a penny more for the renewable choice, you're also going to get a rebate opportunity at the end of the year that may possibly be in excess of that penny. So we're very excited about the renewable option. So yes, we expect real benefits from the fixed price option for the 22% renewable product. We expect substantial additional benefits to anyone who opts into the renewable. More details on that next week. We are going to take you through that contract structure. We're also going to take you through the contract structure of a compliant rate and how we're actually creating an energy efficiency rebate opportunity, which we referred to briefly today, but not in any depth. Now, a third question, and then we've got a number of others that have been emailed to us through the last week, which we'll get back to via email. The third question is the next few steps to executing a contract and rolling over. When is it happening? And what are the risks in this timeline? So quickly, we expect municipalities to be signing this self-effectuating contract between the 14th and the 23rd of December. That's why we're putting so much effort into this diligence process, meeting with everybody, answering any questions that folks have, specifically making any changes. We are going to be sending what we have come up with out to suppliers for comment. They're going to have a few days to comment on that after we've come up with that. We expect to be going out to bid at that first week of January. There is a 2-week period of time between going out to bid and when we're going to get replies. Because we already have signed those contracts, we're able to, once we certify that it is a compliant bid, and we've already certified somebody is not going to be allowed to bid if they are not a qualified supplier with respect to credit worthiness. We will then be able to make the decision in a time frame that the energy markets, with their changing prices daily, require. We will make that decision toward the goal is the 3rd week of January. Give us 7 days to make sure that our lists are good, and we're sending out notification toward the end of January, beginning of February. We have 28 days, 5 days for folks to, assuming that it takes 5 days for them to get that letter, 23 days for folks to reply saying, no, I want out, or nothing and I am in, or hey, in fact, I want to step up and enter this 100% renewable option, whereupon it's our expectation that we'll be going into service with that first, early in March. March 1st is our goal, but early in March. Risks for that process? The risks are that it gets delayed by a day or a week or 2 weeks. Another risk is that we do not get a compliant bid. Let's be clear. This is not necessarily cake. We may not get a compliant bid. But in terms of beyond that, there's no exit fee. We feel that we are more than adequately addressing the credit risks and the fact that it is a full service supply, and that, so sure, there is the risk that we will not get a compliant bid, but beyond that, we feel that we're pretty darn well taking care of any critical risks that may be out there. We invite further questions. We, by email or immediate submission. We're going to wrap up the webinar now and just underscore, we will see you again next week. We will again seek to keep it to under 35 minutes. I have underperformed with my 30-minute promise. And very much appreciate your time last week and today as well. We are getting to the finish line, and I want to underscore the key successful participants here, the engagement of the municipalities, the degree to which you have rolled up your sleeves and participated. It's remarkable, and any success that comes is as a result of what the municipalities and your leadership have collectively accomplished. Thank you.
Thank you.